Town officials are looking for ways to improve parking in Hyannis. Some marine and golf fees could be on the rise. And we find out about a recent attempted robbery during our chat with Police Chief Paul McDonald on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Tuesday, November 15th, 2016. I'm Sarah Mantle. Parking in and around downtown Hyannis can sometimes be a bit of a challenge, and the town's growth management department is working to make some changes. Consultant Nelson Nygaard has completed a comprehensive examination and analysis of parking and has developed recommendations based on their findings. Those recommendations will be discussed during an open house meeting set for Wednesday, November 30th in the Town Hall hearing room. That's happening from 5 to 8. Town Manager Mark Els will consider a proposal to raise some golf and marine fees. Marine fee changes include modest increases for parking at Prince Cove and offload parking at Bismore Park. Golf fees include increases in annual passes, driving range passes, and greens fees. Town Manager Mark Els expects to make a decision about the increases in the near future. If approved, those increases would take effect in January. Well, it's time to get your flu shot. We have details.
A couple of things to talk about today. First, there was an unarmed robbery incident in the vicinity of Cromwell Court. Kind of a complicated story here. Tell me a little bit about what happened.
It is complicated. It came in Sunday morning, about 2:15 in the morning. A couple of officers, they were engaged in a park and walk. They parked the cruiser on Barnstable Road, and they were just walking through Cromwell Court, seeing what's going on in the area, because we've had problems at Cromwell Court in the past. While they were there, they came across an individual who was obviously injured. They called for the rescue to provide medical assistance to the individual. While they're waiting for the rescue, they had a conversation with him. Apparently, he was at a house party a short distance away at 179 Barnstable Road. And while he was there, supposedly several individuals had beaten him and robbed him of approximately $200, and also stole his motor vehicle. While the officers were having a conversation with him, and while he was being treated by the rescue squad, they put out a bulletin to be on the lookout for a certain type of vehicle. And as luck would have it, another cruiser had stopped that vehicle on Barnstable Road, just up by the airport rotary. In the vehicle were two suspects. Both of them were identified as the individuals who had robbed this individual. He was identified as Evan. I can't pronounce his last name, but Limoges. He's from Cranston, Rhode Island, and he was subsequently arrested and charged with assault, unarmed robbery, and A and B on an individual. And the female in the vehicle, she was arrested. She's from Dennis, and she was arrested for 2 outstanding warrants.
And so was it, do you think that the assailants knew the victim? Do you think this was kind of an inside type of a thing?
The victim was from Connecticut. The suspect was from Rhode Island. They're all up visiting the same individual. I think they were introduced to each other that night, so there was some type of very short relationship between the groups, but it was not a long-term relationship. They were just there for a house party, and one thing led to another thing, and they ripped the guy off. And when the cruiser stopped them, supposedly they were out driving around with the money trying to purchase drugs.
Of course.
Yes,
of course. My question was going to be, are drugs related to this? And of course the answer to that is
it always is.
Any follow-up investigation on this, Chief? Is that ongoing, or is it pretty open and shut here?
It's pretty open and shut. We made all the arrests. We talked to everybody else in the house. The party was still going on. Multiple crews responded down there. They identified everyone in the house. Excuse me. They all gave statements identifying the same suspect. The suspect was eventually brought back in. Detectives came in, talked to him on a recorded line, and he did subsequently make a confession. So we are good to go.
Sure. So, Chief, then turning our attention to the incident in the Cranberry Bogs behind a Cape Cod hospital. Of course, that's in the town of Yarmouth, but close enough to Barnstable. So, tell me a little bit about what happened here.
This was right on the Barnstable-Yarmouth town line in the Cranberry Bogs to the rear of Cape Cod Hospital. Their security or their nursing staff from one of the upper floors of the hospital saw an individual in the bogs. He appeared to be stumbling through the bog area. Yarmouth PD had a natural resource officer in the area. They dispatched him along with a couple of their cruisers. They called us and asked if we had any cruisers in the area, if we could respond also. We did. While we responded, the natural resource officer called for assistance. The individual was trying to take his radio, trying to take his revolver from him, and they're actually in a wrestling match because the individual had grabbed his baton from him and was taking his baton. The individual was able to wrestle the natural resource officer to the ground. The natural resource officer was able to fight back. The individual took off running. Then a combination of YPD and Barnstable units found him and stopped him on Rosado Avenue, eventually made the arrest. The individual was identified as Darren Devine. I'm not sure exactly what his address is. He had been staying at the homeless shelter, but we had just had an incident with him 2 days earlier out in the field off of Plum Street in West Barnstable. We get a call for a suspicious individual just walking through the field with a machete. And at that time, he was confronted by two police officers, and they determined that he had some type of mental health issues. They called for the rescue, was transported to Cape Cod Hospital, and they were trying to get him evaluated, and we're in the process now of following up on that, and we're finding out what happened with that. He is being held on $1,000 cash bail at Barnstable District Court, so our Community Impact Unit, Sergeant Ellis, is working with the courts and trying to make sure that he does get an evaluation.
Sure, and again, as you said, he did try to assault that Yarmouth Natural Resource Officer. Were there any injuries there, or was it just a kind of a little bit of a struggle?
There were no injuries, yeah, but when something like that happens, the police officer, natural resources, they're kind of at a disadvantage because during your course of your training, the one thing you're trained to do, you have to protect that firearm. You cannot lose that firearm. So basically, when you get involved in a wrestling match or a fight, you're definitely the bad guys fighting the police officer who really only has one hand, because the other hand, you have to maintain security of that weapon. At all costs, you can't lose that weapon because God forbid knows what's going to happen. The natural resource officer did an outstanding job. He did a great job. He kept them there, called for assistance, and we along with YPD were able to respond and get the individual.
Great.
Now let's get an update from the Barnstable Police Department. Channel 18's Sarah Colvin chats with Chief of Police Paul McDonald. It's that time of year again. As the cold weather approaches, it's time to think about protecting yourself against the flu. The town of Barnstable Public Health Division will host 2 flu clinics this fall. Health Division Director Tom McKean recommends everyone get a flu shot.
It's so important to get the flu shot each year because especially if you have a suppressed immune system or you have underlying illness, flu can be very dangerous. But also healthy people as well, protect yourself from getting the seasonal flu, which can knock you off your feet for a couple of days, as you know, if you ever got the flu.
McKean says this year's flu shot prevents against the 4 most recent strains of flu viruses. The process takes only about 5 minutes, and drive-through service is available. There are volunteers and nurses on hand to make getting your flu shot quick and easy. The flu clinics are available to Barnstable residents for just $3. The first vaccination clinic will be held Wednesday, October 19th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. The second vaccination clinic will be held Wednesday, November 16th from 3 to 5. Contact the Barnstable Health Division with any questions. Well, be sure to tune in to our hour-long news program, Barnstable This Morning, weekdays at 8 a.m. On tomorrow's show, we will chat with Finance Director Mark Milne. We'll hear from Town Manager Mark Els. Plus, we'll have all the news and information you need. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.
Channel 18 is the town of Barnstable's government access television station. Our staff of 4, a news coordinator, assistant news coordinator, and 2 videographers are responsible for all aspects of producing our programming. Every weekday, we produce Barnstable This Morning, a live hour-long news program that includes live interviews with local leaders, feature segments, weather, sports, boating, and fishing reports. Barnstable Today, a 10-minute newscast, is also produced on a daily basis with a focus on board, committee, and commission meetings and special events in town. Our staff is also responsible for coordinating coverage of more than 30 monthly board, committee, and commission meetings, producing special programming, and maintaining Channel 18's informational bulletin boards. Channel 18 headquarters are at Barnstable Town Hall. We have a small television studio and office, 2 camera-equipped hearing rooms, and a control room and operations center on the top floor of the building. Channel 18 is solely operated by the town of Barnstable.